Hey everyone, I'm Chad with Hulse Designs. Today we're going to be installing these LT6 carbon fiber intake manifold covers. This is actually the second video I'm doing this. I've received a couple, I won't say complaints, but concerns from customers over a few things. One was fitment, and the other was a concern with, I guess, proximity to the map sensor wiring. So step over here, let me show you what we're going to do about that. I've kind of drawn it out here, but the big interference was the fuel line, and it wasn't really an interference, it was just a tight fit. So I had one customer in particular who was having too much trouble with his. So this is actually what I came up with to fix that. Your fuel line attaches to the intake manifold on the passenger side in two locations. So the forward location, the one towards the front of the car, what we're going to be doing is replacing this bolt with a stud, and this stud is going to have a spacer. So all the new hardware kits come with this spacer and the stud and the new nuts. Okay, so on the aft part, and I'll preface this with saying this is on the hardtop convertibles. I don't think the coupes have this coolant line. But on the aft, you got an existing stud with the fuel line and the coolant lines brackets both on the same stud. So we're going to reuse this stud. The only difference is we're going to take that fuel line bracket and move it over to the other side of the stud. This is what it's going to look like. So let's get into it. I'll show you what we're going to do here. It might make a little bit more sense if you're not following. First step is to put it into service mode, at least for the convertibles. Coupes, of course, just open your hatch. To do that, unlock and hold this button at the very bottom until this arm is straight, and then let go of the button. So your stock cover has, I think, 15 or 18 of these little T15 screws that hold it on. So we're going to remove all of those for demonstration purposes in this video. I've only got 2 of them installed at the moment. So take your T15 screws out. And then lift up your cover, kind of move it back a little bit, and you can rotate it up and out of the way. All right, so you can see we've got this, I've got this all back in the stock configuration. If you want to zoom in here, so this is the fuel line that runs along this plenum of the intake manifold. Now we'll need a 10mm socket to undo this bolt here and this nut here. So get your 10mm socket. We'll start with the forward one. So there's actually your O2 sensor wiring is right here. So this just clips off, so kind of slide it back a little bit. You don't need to unhook anything, but just slide it back and out of the way, and then you'll have access to the bolt here that's holding this fuel line on. It does help if you have kind of a swivel socket or a swivel ratcheting wrench. Now, be careful not to drop any of this hardware, because as you guys probably know, the bottom of this car is completely flat with panels. And if you drop it, you're probably taking off a panel to get something, unless you get lucky and it gets caught somewhere. So here's the 10mm bolt that is factory. You can remove this, set it aside. We will not be reusing this. And then get your hardware hardware kit will come in a little bag like this. And take out the stud. This fuel line's kind of out of the way. You can, where it's unbolted, you can move it out of the way. And just screw in this stud. It is a little bit tricky to get started because there's not a lot of room here. Just thread it all the way in, just finger tight. Okay, now that the stud is in, take your spacer out of the hardware kit and put that on the stud, and then put your fuel line back on, and then get the nut, and again, just take your time, be patient, don't drop it. All right, now that's on. We get the 10mm back. You can see it's not spacing it out a whole lot, but it's just enough. I'll go ahead and say this would be optional. If you're having troubles and you're struggling and you're not being able to get it on, you can go ahead and do this method. It's pretty snug. Now we're going to move to the aft location, and like I said, this is already got a stud on it from the factory. So I'm going to undo the nut. It's on there. I think it's a lock nut. Yes. Okay, there it goes. All right. This nut off, set it aside. You will need it. Now, I'm gonna remove the coolant line. Let's try to pull on the fuel line. Okay, remove the coolant line. Again, if you got a coupe, I don't think the coolant lines are routed like this. For the convertibles, it is. So now we're gonna unscrew the stud. So this stud is like a, I guess what you would call a bolt stud. So it's got a head like halfway. So that's why you need the deep socket. All right, so here's what that stud looks like. Like I said, it's kind of a bolt stud. So now that that's out, move your fuel line away, and then put this back in the same location it was in. Now that that's in, take your fuel line, back on, and then take your coolant line and put it on. Then take your nut. I'm just gonna tighten this down. All right, now your fuel line is spaced out, and if you were having any clearance issues before, you definitely won't now. Just that little bit gives it a lot more room. So now we can move on to the install. All right, guys, now that we got the fuel line taken care of, I'm going to address the next concern that I had, and that was about the map sensor wiring. Even though I haven't had any problems in the probably, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 miles I've driven with these on. It was a concern, and still valid enough concern that I'm going to do something about it, just so everybody can rest assured that there's not going to be any issues down the road, any long-term problems or anything like that. So on all the new covers that go out, I'm installing these for you. For the ones that I've already sent out, and you didn't have these, I'm going to be mailing you these and the new stud and spacer for the fuel rail. So look for those in the mail. They'll be coming soon. Let me show you, for those of you who will be getting these in the mail, how you install them. So come over here. We've got two different ones. This one here that's got the notch in the middle, that will go on the passenger side. And come around here, I'll show you. It's just adhesive on the back, so you'll remove this piece of paper, and then you want to center this on the cutout there and get this close to the bottom on both sides. There you go. And just press it on like that. It's very sticky. It's gonna stay. All right, now for the other side, it's the same thing essentially. There's just no cutout for the fuel line. So for this one, just kind of get it close. You can see it follows the contour. Again, kind of close to the bottom. You don't want it to be all the way up at the edge. Just like you don't want it to be poking through, but again, just sticks on like so. All right, and then that will be adjacent to the map wiring. So these covers do cover the map sensor and the wiring, and let's get into that. So for the hardtop convertible, you do need to move the coolant tank out of the way. That's just a couple 10mm bolts. So let me show you how to do that. The first one's here on the passenger side. Take this guy out. Oh, before I forget, now that we're over here, we want to slide this the O2 sensor back into place. Can get it here. There it goes. You heard that clip? That means it's in place and we're secured. All right, now that that bolt up here is out, you just want to slide the coolant tank forward a little bit, and it comes out of the slot down there. And then there's a bracket over there that's got a little tab. You want to slide it towards the passenger side and get it out of that, and then kind of just move it on out of the way here. I usually place it upside down because we're going to need all this room here on the passenger side. So now we need to take off the name plaque. So that's going to be an 8mm bolt, and we just got 2 of them here. And, I have these just on hand tight. I don't know if you noticed in the last clip, but I forgot that this was off, so I put it back on just so I can show taking it off, because it's just going to be on when you start. But I'll just say that just so you might have to get a wrench. It might not come off with a screwdriver. So take this and set it aside, and we will begin the installation. First we're going to do the driver's side. So the driver's side is the easiest one. Oop. Actually, before we do that, we've got one bracket here. We want to kind of zoom in on this bracket. The last video didn't show it too well, but we've got one bracket here that's just easier to take off. Again, it's a 10mm also. Surprise, everything's 10mm, it seems like. So this is just one bolt also. Take this guy off. Okay, here's what this bracket looks like. It's just got that little hole that the coolant tank slides into. So we'll set that aside. And now we can install our cover. Again, kind of rotate it this way and slide it into place, at least on the convertibles. The coupes I think is a little easier until you get it underneath this lip right here. And then we're gonna slide it, rotate it back around that way, and it's on. We just need to put the hardware in now. So for this, each side gets a 7mm bolt and an 8mm bolt. The 7mm goes in the front and the 8mm goes in the back. These are the factory mounting locations for the OEM optional cover. So get the smaller one and line up this front hole. And I found it's easier to put the front one in first. Get it started, just hand tight. And then move the back one, line it up. And get this started. Just with your fingers right now. I'm not gonna tighten these down yet all the way. They're very loose, about maybe 3/4 of the way in. Hardware, I'm going to go around the other side. Now for this one, it's a little tighter. Again, you got that fuel rail kind of down there, but rotate it kind of as much as you can here. And it helps just to put your thumb on it, maybe to stop it from scratching at the back. Even if it scratches, you're not going to see it because that thing goes all the way up under this lip. And now this one's on. So we'll get our, again, one 7mm, one 8mm. Smaller 7mm goes up front. Get that guy started. Back. Okay, get that started. we'll say it helps if you have like a flashlight or something. So those are on. Now let's go back around. We'll put our bracket back on for the coolant reservoir. Again, 10mm bolt. Put that back in the same spot I took it out from. And again, on the coupe, this isn't necessary. So snug that down pretty good. Go ahead and one thing I just want to kind of point out here, this little slot down here in the coolant tank goes in to this tab sticking out right here. That's not, let me see if I can put my hand behind it. There you go. So you don't need to take this bracket off, but just be aware of it when you're reinstalling. So first slide it in the hole over there, and then slide it onto that bracket I just showed you a second ago, and slide it back, and then we'll put our 10mm bolt back in here. See where I put my, there it is. Slide the coolant lines back, and coolant tank is back in place. Now we're going to put the name plaque back on. And again with 8mm. Snug these guys down. Now we'll switch back to the 7mm and tighten the front of the covers. Now these have rubber washers on them. You don't need to get them super tight, but you do want them all the way in. Get them snug. All right. I'll move on to the back bolts. For this, it helps to have a ratcheting wrench in 8mm. There's not a whole lot of room in here, but a ratcheting wrench does a beautiful job here. These also have the rubber washers on them. Don't need to crank them overly tight, but get them good and snug. The flat plane crank engines do vibrate, so don't want to lose them. If you were concerned about the vibration or them backing out or anything, I guess you could put a little dab of blue Loctite on them. Again, I've had these on for thousands of miles, testing and everything, and I haven't had any problems, so just make sure they're tight. And then there you go. They are installed. For the coupe, you're done. For the convertible, let's put the cover back on. And of course, you don't want to put the factory cover back on. You want to show these guys off. So I have the Hulse Designs cover. I just happen to like the symmetry of the glass on it, and that it has a bigger glass and you can see more into it. But there's certainly quite a few selections out there. So get the one that you like, works for you. The other reason I like this one is because it just holds on with Velcro, and then 2 screws, so you don't have to be putting 15 to 18 screws on. And there you have it. You got your intake manifold covers installed in not too long of amount of time. So again, like I was saying, if you guys were having problems or any issues with the fuel line that was over here, you'll be receiving the spacer kit and also the foam padding. Again, it's not even touching that wiring for the map sensors, but still listen to the concerns of you guys, and I want everybody to be happy. And with that, I guess if there's anything else you guys come across or have any problems or any questions, email me, hulsedesigns@gmail.com. If you wanted to buy a set of these, hulsedesigns.com. We've got the regular carbon fiber like this. I've got red and blue. I will be doing a matte one soon, but if you have any other special requests, there's all kinds of colors and patterns out there, email me and I'll help you out and we'll get it done for you. Thanks again. You guys have a good one.